as and I don't know what exactly these people are going to care about, but as far as like the obvious neuroethics argument here, it's interesting to take into account that humans are notoriously bad at predicting how they are going to adjust to change in the future. And so everyone today will say, like, there's no way I would allow invasive BCI into my brain. Never in a million years. And that's like the that's the like interest. So like that may be the case that everyone thinks that right now, but similarly, people would have thought throughout history like that they wouldn't do any of the things that we do today. Like, how many of your friends don't have smartphones, and do they ever give up and finally get a smartphone? Or like when I was selling Gmail invites when they first came out when I was in high school, and everyone thought I was a terrible person for supporting a company that was the first thing Gmail ever was the first thing that humans had ever done that had targeted ads based on the content of emails or based on individual data. And if you compare how the world was outraged back then, now nobody like even remembers that. It's a blip on the radar. I remember that because it was a very visceral thing for me, because I was all excited about making thousands of dollars selling Gmail invites, and everyone was like, "You're so bad for doing that." Like nobody that they were sharing having targeted ads, and now obviously people have it's way more invasive than that. So basically, I think that we can say with pretty high confidence that humanity's current attitude towards BCI and invasive BCI is not any indication of what it'll actually be like. So then, if we assume that we are going to have invasive BCI eventually, and it'll be commonplace and everyone will have it, then like it's interesting to assume that it's going to happen whether we like it or not. So you can say like, oh, it's so bad, but it's going to happen whether we like it or not, is a compelling argument to make. And then also additionally, even if it's not going to happen, the risk that it does happen is something that's worth preparing for and thinking about, like the marginal impact. So like the effective altruism thing that's fairly interesting, that I've mentioned to Sumner at least before, and to Melanie too, I think, but it is that like working on things that are neglected can be very, very high impact. So like if you look, you could bring in a concept from effective altruism, like working on things that are neglected. So like you can have a higher impact in the world by being the marginal additional person working on existential risks from asteroids destroying the Earth. If only 10 people in the whole world are working on that, even though there may be a very low probability of it, being the 11th person to work on it makes it so that low probability scenario where it does destroy the Earth is substantially lower because of the marginal impact of one more person working on it. Whereas if you become another doctor, and if you become another doctor, you're basically going to be taking away the job of another person who would have become a doctor, and you're not going to save any more lives, really. So the marginal impact of working on this is potentially really, really large. The marginal impact of the dollars spent on it by the government are potentially very, very large. But in any case, we could make a compelling argument that it's not even low. So that it's a large impact even if it is low probability to come about. But the thing is, I think we can also make a strong argument that it's not low probability to come about because a lot of the biggest, the most successful entrepreneurs in the world are heavily investing in it right now. Anyway, for that reason, basically, so that's like some interesting general framing. And then thinking about like, if it is likely to come about whether we like it or not, what is it likely to be like when it comes about? Well, if it's built the way that technology tends to be designed today, it could be really quite terrible. We could be interrupted mid-thought with ads from Facebook. Oh, actually, that could be cool here. Play to some of the general public's fears about Facebook and big tech companies these days, which probably Washington is starting to care about. but like and have some stats about how bad social media is and addiction to technology and stuff like this. And then so like it could be really quite terrible. You could be and on the other hand, it could be it could be quite good, like if we design it with a good understanding of the way the human brain actually works and build into it things that make it so that it gets acceleratingly better as we learn more things about about the way the brain actually works. I think like the scaremongering of the trajectory that we're currently headed on, being the like that being very bad if it's in your brain, might be effective with people in DC, I would guess. Anyway, I guess any other neuroethics stuff to say? I don't know. I could probably think of a bunch of other stuff too, but is that helpful at all?
Yes, it is. I've been sort of taking bullet points on these so we can flesh some of this out. Yeah, I think that especially like the idea of early investment and low probability risks, that one is a really particularly good point for this application. We touched on some of that already that under the Why Now section, because we have a section on growing commercial interest. So we could sort of hit on some of that there. And I couldn't find it. There was another report that I had put in a talk several years ago. I need to keep looking for it. That had there was a projection on what people thought that the BMI industry would look like by the year 2020. And I remember the number was something in the like sub $1 billion, and this year it hit 9.1. So it nearly 10x what the predictions were just like 2 years ago. And now they're predicting 15 billion by 2024, which I think is actually another undershoot. Anyway, that's all just to say that there is growing commercial interest and that this is not a low probability risk. Maybe the probability that it's an existential risk to humanity is low probability, but that's where the market impact argument still comes in. And I still think that the idea here is, in the way that I've written it, is sort of, I guess, towards the scaremongering side a little bit, but without early intervention, you risk the existing incentive structure, see Facebook guiding the direction of the technology, rather than, taking the reins now for what is essentially a cheap investment by comparison to what it would cost. I mean, imagine if we had an idea what social media would do in 2004, and we could have helped to invest in that in ways that would have been more healthy. Whereas what is the cost of doing that now, or steering the direction of what's become a very large ship? It's a lot easier if it's a dinghy. So I think that's where we're at now with BCI. We can sort of make that point.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Cool. And an enormous amount is going to be invested in this later. It would be great to create a foundation where people are. It would be great to create a foundation where we not only build a technical foundation that inspires people to build it in a more agency-increasing way, but also put forth the ideas to make it incumbent. If like a big funded thing is this, then it's going to be more incumbent upon the other players in the space to academics and also larger companies to get on board with this too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's also it's not just AI that China, I think, would gain a huge advantage by getting to faster, but I think just having BMI also, if China won the BMI race and they had really advanced technology that they weren't sharing with anyone, and now all of their soldiers could communicate with computers in the field automatically and stuff like that, that also seems like that would be potentially a big problem for the United States.
Oh, that's actually a good point. In fact, Darren, I'm going to add this to your section. Address why not a national lab, but maybe more importantly, why not DARPA? Because that's another thing that the FRO says specifically that they're, funding, is that you kind of have this existing incentive structure, academia, industry, national labs, and then you have the ARPAs, which are Advanced Research Project Agency, DARPA being the largest one by a long shot defense